Okay, so behind me, Yvonne is burning my jerseys. She's fixing them. Using fire, glue, and love to fix them. Not in that order either. Okay, so Henrik Sedin hits his 1000th point last night, and for me, the Sedins are part and parcel. You talk about one, you have to talk about the other. So I'm gonna do this now. First off, you will see the TV a little bit in the background. Montreal's beating Buffalo 2-1 in the third. I just want to see how this one turns out. But this is going to be one of my longer videos, so go ahead and pause it if you need to, because we're going back here. Look at that. There's Messier with the Canucks jersey. Isn't that sad? Okay, now while you're trying to choke down the bile, I've tried to get every magazine I can that's to do with pool guides to get with point totals. Because the Sedins, you can look at this 1000 points and go, yeah, but look how many games it took them. But there's something to be said for the fact that these kids came over and didn't perform right away. And there was a lot of pressure on them. So this is from 99-2000. Daniel Sedin, a highly skilled offensive forward. He possesses great finesse and is a natural goal scorer. Also a great playmaker with outstanding vision and hockey sense. He's fast and strong on his skates, which enables him to play effectively in a physical game. Very aware of his defensive responsibilities, confident, and very mature. Henrik Sedin. Daniel's brother Henrik is also a highly skilled finesse player, possesses tremendous playmaking abilities due to his excellent passing. Like his twin, he also has tremendous hockey sense as well as great vision. Very competitive with a great attitude. Yeah, this is just ugly. When the Canucks pushed the New York Rangers to the 7th game of the Stanley Cup final in '94, it appeared to be the beginning of many momentous things to come. It didn't, though. I remember back then. It really didn't. However, 5 seasons, 3 coaches, 2 GMs, and 1 captain later, Vancouver's a mess of a franchise. With GM Brian Burke hell-bent on undoing the damage created by his predecessor, Mike Keenan, the Canucks appear to be headed towards rebuilding. Yet the continuing presence of Mark Messier in a Canucks jersey does nothing to lower the expectation level of Vancouver's increasingly disgusted fans. As attendance continues to plummet, 99-2000 might very well be the most important season in the Canucks' 29-year existence. Okay. So now we go from 99-2000 to 2000-2001. Now I'm into pool guides. And showing how old this is, it's got Rob Velicevic in it. A bunch of people just went, who? All right, so the first year, the Sedins didn't come over. So the first year they stayed in Sweden. They played for Modo. Played relatively well. Daniel Sedin, projected for 47 points. Henrik projected for 51. A well-rounded left winger, Daniel has all the offensive tools and is a finisher on a line with playmaker twin brother Henrik. Daniel won't prosper as many predict until he adds an element of toughness to his style. Never been a problem. In the eyes of some, center Henrik has passed his brother as the superior player. A tremendous passer and puck handler is also strong on faceoffs. Sedin is being groomed as Vancouver's #1 center, and both of them had a salary of $1.025 million in the rookie season. And on the cover, it's Jaromir Jagr with the Penguins. That's how far back we're going. In the NHL that long. 2001, 2002, I had to get Sports Forecaster for this season. So now it's a matter of where the Canucks are in here. Donald Brashear was a Canuck. Harold Druken was a Canuck. All right, so in their rookie seasons, Daniel Sedin had 20 goals, 14 assists, 34 points. Henrik Sedin had 9 goals, 20 assists, 29 points. Daniel Sedin, both Sedin twins came as advertised. Daniel, the goal scorer of the two, had an adjustment period in the early stages of 2000-2001, but did finish third among rookies in goals. It appeared at times that the physical nature of the NHL overwhelmed the youngster, though he did not shy away. While not quite as speedy as his brother, Sedin is fast enough and his hockey sense is outstanding. Off-season surgery to clear up his aching back should help the slick winger. Looking ahead, nobody expected the Sedins to dominate their first season, but the potential is there. Now the adjustment period's over. Look for more goals for Daniel. The sky's the limit for the Swedish sensation, and they projected 26 goals and 51 points. Henrik, Henrik, like his brother Daniel, took time to adjust to the NHL life last season. While extremely talented, Henrik isn't the goal scorer his twin brother is, which was proven in 2000-2001. Defensively responsible, Sedin seems more suited to the physical game than his brother. Very powerful along the boards and in the corners, the 6'2", 196-pound center is very hard to knock off the puck. Overall, he plays a more complete game than his brother Daniel. He's a fine playmaker who has already shown flashes of brilliance. Looking ahead, while his point total might not have been quite what people expected, Henrik showed he can handle the NHL game. Soon, he's going to become the main man down the middle for the Canucks for a very long time, and they projected 14 goals and 40 points for Henrik the following season. Now we're back to the Ultimate Pool Guide for 02-03. This is why I'm doing this, because, yeah, the Sedins in the beginning. Daniel, in his second year, had 32 points. Henrik, in his second year, had 36. Daniel only had 9 goals in 79 games. Lingering health problems are partially responsible for dropping Daniel's goal total from 20 to 9. A summer of conditioning and possibly an increased role should move him back up the charts. Henrik, the progress is slow, but it's there. He could have had an increased role this year as a second-line center, but most of his goals are scored by the first line, so don't expect a huge jump. So that's Henrik. That's Matt Sundin on the cover. 03-04, Marcus Naslund. Yep, that was the Marcus Naslund-led Canucks. And we were all wondering then, who's going to replace Marcus? In his third year, Daniel Sedin, 31 points in 79 games, 14 of which are goals, so his points dropped by 1. Henrik Sedin, in his third season. That's Eero Samavari. He never came over. Henrik Sedin in his third year had 39 points, only 8 goals. So his point total went up. Daniel Sedin, just like his twin, Daniel's shown very little scoring progress in his 3 NHL seasons. Playing behind the number 1 line, don't expect this to be the breakout year, and they only project 33 points. Henrik, it's pretty hard to have a legitimate breakout season when Vancouver's top line is ahead of you. Henrik's progress has been slow and isn't likely to speed up. They project 43 points in that season's magazine. Now, 04-05 was a problem because the only magazine I got was this one because it was a lockout season. So we'll just look at the Canucks totals for Henrik and Daniel that year. Daniel Sedin had 54 points, 18 of which were goals. Henrik Sedin had 42 points, 11 of which were goals. So going into the lockout, the Sedins were viewed as a bust. 4 years into their NHL careers, and neither of them had made significant progress, although Henrik was seen by many as a decent passer, and Daniel had promise. Remember, he hadn't had 20 goals since his rookie season, and that's after 4 years. There was a lot of talk in Vancouver at the time of maybe it's time to get rid of the Sedins. In fact, let's take a look at what they have to say in here about Daniel and Henrik. Offense. Bertuzzi remains a big question mark among forwards. No one's certain how he'll perform when he returns. It was after the Steve Moore punch. It's obvious he'll have big emotional scars from the Moore incident. If he flounders, the Canucks will have trouble matching even 235 goals of last season. However, if he plays like a man possessed, they'll be at or near the top of the league once again. The Sedin twins are the other wild card. Left winger Daniel was the most improved forward last season, but his 54 points were still modest. Brother Henrik, Vancouver's second-line center, still hasn't cracked the 50-point barrier in 4 seasons, and Nonis might be ready to make a move. This is when Dave Nonis took over, and maybe Henrik Sedin isn't good enough to be a second-line center in the NHL. Maybe you need to replace him. Back to the hockey news. So after the year was wiped out, and they were coming back to hockey, this is the preview. Lockout impact. Few Canuck regulars played a full season in 04-05, so there'll be considerable rust on most of the core group. Morrison, Salo, and the Sedin twins all played full seasons in the Swedish Elite League, while Naslund, Sweden, Kluche, Austria, and Allen, Russia, managed to squeeze in some games after Christmas. Perhaps the biggest beneficiary was top prospect Ryan Kessler, the Canucks' first-round pick in the 2003 entry draft. The 21-year-old center had an outstanding season in the American League, where he played all situations, scored 30 goals, and was named Manitoba's MVP. Right winger Lee Gorin and journeyman blue liner Nolan Baumgartner also improved their stock in the organization with solid AHL campaigns. Goalie Alex Auld, ticketed for backup job in Vancouver, was up and down in Manitoba, so he'll be under the microscope. And then that's about it. But they did point out the Sedins played a full season over in Sweden, and I think that benefited them quite a bit. I do. I think that made a big difference. Here are those 607. Hey, look, it's Sid the Kid. Projected number 1, 116 points. After a rookie season that was pretty damn fantastic. Radom Verbata. All right, Daniel and Henrik. The season after the lockout, Daniel had 71 points, 22 goals. Henrik had 75 points, 18 goals. Daniel, it took a while, longer than normal for a breakout season, but it was worth the wait. If there's any question about it, he's now assured of top line and first power play unit time. Henrik, it took a while, longer than normal for a breakout season, but it was worth the wait. If there's any question about it, he's now assured of top line and first power play unit time. That's right, they did the exact same write-up for both of the Sedins in this magazine. I wouldn't make that up. I would not make that up. All right, focus, camera, focus. See, it's the exact same. They projected the exact same points. They projected 29 goals for Sedin with 85 points, 23 goals for Henrik. So there you go. They're like, okay, these guys are the same player. 07, 08, there's Sid the Kid again. They projected him for 128 points that year. If he scored the amount of points that they projected for him, he would have hit 1,000 a while ago. Let's see. Oh, God. Brent Sopel keeps showing up every time I flick through here. All right, the Sedins the following season. So Daniel had 84 points. Henrik had 81. They were close. Daniel, the Sedins have got better every year. There has to be a limit, though, and we're virtually there. It's taken a while, and it didn't look like they'd ever get there, but they did. Henrik, the playmaker of the two Sedins, Henrik passes the puck to his brother Daniel, who shoots it in the net. Nice plan. He's also improved his points every season, but it's at a ceiling. It's 81 points. And yet, even though they say it's at a ceiling, they projected him for 85. Because why not completely blow apart your own theory on points? 08-09. Ovechkin on the cover. And I'm waiting for the comments. Go through all those magazines. Who was projected to be really good and wasn't? It's a lot of them, actually. So a lot of players were projected to be big stars, and that didn't happen. Daniel Sedin. So they scored. Daniel scored 74 points in 07-08. Henrik scored 76. They missed the playoffs that year. That's when things fell apart, and in came Mike Gillis. So the Sedins maxed out at around 80 points. Not a bad level at all. The Canucks don't have enough auxiliary scoring to produce more, and not enough to score less either. So that's about Daniel. They project him for 78 points. Henrik. After 5 seasons of increase, Sedin finally leveled off. It had to happen sometime. For the foreseeable future, expect both brothers to hover around the 80-point mark. And they projected him for 74 points, because why not be wrong again? See, that way if he hits 80 points, they're right, and if he hits 70, they're right. Okay. 09-10. I was going to say 09-010. No. Just don't do that. What are you laughing at? I try not to sound clever. It raises the bar. Daniel Sedin had 82 points that year. Henrik had 82 points that year. They both had 10 points in 10 playoff games as well. Daniel Sedin, 80-point level and rarely misses a game. What more do you want? They project him for 80 points. Henrik Sedin hasn't missed a game in 4 years and generates between 75 and 82 points. They predict 80 points. At this point in time, Daniel Sedin had 462 points in 642 games. Henrik Sedin had 460 points in 646 games. So the numbers have been startlingly similar. The thing is, Daniel got hurt and missed part of a season that Henrik didn't. Otherwise, they could both have had 1,000 points on that goal last night. So here's 10-11. And we got Stamkos on the cover. Who's the next Stamkos? Tavares, Hall, or Sagan? None. Sagan, I guess. They're not the same kind of player, though. That's why it drives me nuts. People say, who's the next? And they name a guy. I don't know. You're your own player. All right, Henrik and Daniel. This was the year Daniel missed 19 games. So in 63 points or 63 games, he had 85 points, which is incredible. Henrik had 112 in 82 games. Key here is Henrik had 29 goals. Henrik has always been able to score goals. It's just as long as he has his brother to pass to, he won't. He just won't. Daniel missed 19 games and still had career best season. Has reached top of the hill and project 89 points. Henrik Sedins, seriously, that's enough. No way he matches last year's numbers. And they project 90 points. And we're into 11-12. So race for Ross, and we got both Sedins because they proved the magazine wrong again. Okay, Daniel's on this page. There has to be a statute of limitation on Sedin points. He's reached it. He had 104 points that year. They projected 90 for the following season. So at this point, Daniel's up to 651 points in 787 games. You know what you're getting. No need to read this, is all they say about Henrik. They project him for 92 points. At this point, he had 666 points in 810 games. He had 94 points that season. And that's the year they went to the Stanley Cup final. And now we're into this season with Sidney Crosby again on the cover, because if you're going to have ultimate points, you're going to have a lot of magazines with Sidney Crosby on the front. Daniel Sedin had 67 points in 72 games. Don't worry about the off year or the previous great year. His level's in the 80s, so they project 82 points. Henrik Sedin, 2 years of decline, but no more for a while. His level's still high. Henrik had 81 points in 82 games that year. 85 points is what they projected him at. Now we're into, this is 13-14, and again, we're into the ultimate guides here. Sedin. Daniel, huge goal reduction because he stopped scoring on power play, expected rebound. So he had 40 points in 47 games in the lockout shortened season. He only had 12 goals. Henrik Sedin, he's 33, so it's time to start thinking his production will decline. Just not yet. So he had 45 points in 48 games, 11 of which were goals. He reached 940 games. Daniel Sedin at 906. Henrik's at 792 points. Daniel's at 758. And they project Daniel at 70 points and Henrik at 71. So again, these guys are tied to each other the whole way through. 2014-15. Daniel Sedin, 47 points in 73 games. Blame last season's disaster on team style of play. Canucks promised a free wheel this year. Project him for 63 points. He did pass 800 points that year. Henrik, 50 points in 70 games. Disregard last season. He's far from finished, and he's not prone to injury. So he passed 1,000 games and passed 800 points. 15-16. There's Ovi. I think that's the second time Ovi's been on the cover in these magazines. Sedins. Daniel. The Sedins demise has been greatly exaggerated. At least it's nothing a new coach couldn't figure out. So he had 76 points in 82 games the following season. Projected for 64. Henrik had 73 points in 82 games. Look for fewer goals this year. He's a playmaker, not the scorer. He had 18 goals that year. I think he's got 11 goals already this year. He's on pace for about 20. Because Daniel is not the goal scorer he was. So now that he knows Daniel's not a 30 goal scorer anymore, he's shooting the puck more. I still think Henrik's got a better shot than Daniel. The stats will never bear that out. All right. And this is this year's, with Connor McDavid on the cover. Daniel Sedin, he can still score, but only one other player on Vancouver had more than 16 goals last season, so the assists plummeted. So yeah, he had 28 goals last year, 61 points, ended up at 942 in 1,143 games. They projected 59 this year, which is high. The Sedins need to get hot to reach that total. Henrik Sedin had 55 points last year, and it says had a poor season 3 years ago and rebounded, but at 36 and with the current team, another rebound isn't projected. They projected him for 55 points. So he came into the season with 970 in 1,166 games. He's now at 1,000. I expect Daniel to hit 1,000, but that's how close these guys have been their entire career. So I can't do a video talking about Henrik being the best setup guy the Canucks have ever had and overlook the fact that Daniel Sedin is the best goal scorer the Canucks have ever had. And yet, again, there's an asterisk there, because if he hadn't played with Daniel, I'm convinced Henrik would be the best scorer the Canucks have ever had in goals and points. Henrik has always, and the Sedins in general have always kind of been underrated outside of Vancouver. Almost every year after their totals picked up, they were the top 2 scorers in Vancouver. Every year. Number 1 and number 2 in scoring. And whether you like them or you don't like them, it is a mystery that these guys are able to score points when they haven't had backup. And the Canucks have been terrible at having more than one scoring line their entire bloody existence, other than the Canucks from 1991 till 1994. And after that and before that, it's been a one-line wonder almost the whole way. Even in 2011 when they went to the final, I know Kessler had a lot of points. He didn't have great wingers, and the team really relied a lot on the Sedins. So if a team cut them down, and if Kessler couldn't be a world beater, they were done. And against the Bruins, they were done. Against Nashville, the Sedins were shut down, but Kessler dragged them past. So anyways, that's a look at the career of the Sedin twins in terms of just pure stats. Doesn't tell the story about the leaders they've been, how generous they've been, courteous they've been with fans in a city that demands absolutely the best of its players, even if they're getting the best, they don't believe it. A fan base that can be just brutal with players in this city, ask Luongo. And a city that's watched a lot of star players go, and here are star players that have stayed. So I have nothing but respect for these guys. And if they were Canadian, there'd be statues of them outside of Rogers already. But they're Swedes, so there's always going to be that they don't play tough enough. They don't play, which is weird to me because there are plenty of Canadian finesse guys that if they get run over, or they get hit, you'll see guys saying, "Well, he's not a tough guy. What are you running him over for? That's not his game. That's a cheap shot." But the Sedins are considered fair game, which is whatever. I really get tired of the argument at times, so I'm not going to make the argument for or against right now. But it's there. So as Buffalo has tied it with 10 seconds left, it's a tie game. And Carey Price steals it out of the air. With that said, I'm going to bid you adieu from this video. I intend to do one more before I'm done for today. Thank you for watching, and congratulations to Henrik Sedin on 1,000 points, and to Daniel Sedin on soon, hopefully joining him. If not this season, then at the start of next season. I expect them to come back next year for one more year. I think the Sedins will both come back for one more season, do a farewell tour of the NHL, and then they'll go home to Sweden and play a season or two for Moto. But that's it for me for now, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And again, I got Canucks gear on, because Canuck reasons.